What's doing, everybody? Welcome to First Class Fatherhood. I'm Alec, and before I hit you with today's interview, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the link in the description so you can listen to all of the interviews I've done with so many tremendous dads, including Dana White, Deion Sanders, Tony Hawk, and so many others. Now let's get going with today's interview. All right, joining me now, First Class Father, Darren McBurnett. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Alex, man. I know you've been hitting me up for a while, man. So we finally made it happen. So I appreciate your persistence, patience, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you, man.
Yeah, this is an honor for me as well. Let's start it right here. How many kids do you have, and how old are they?
3. I have my oldest son. He's 22. He's in Pennsylvania. He's finishing out his a degree in physical training. So he wants to be one of the athletic trainers. Then I got my oldest daughter. Her name is Trinity. As my son's name is Nick. My oldest daughter is Trinity. She's 19. She's at Fresno State. And then my youngest daughter just turned 17, and she lives with me. And her name is Athena.
Wow, very cool. What type of sports or activities were they all into growing up?
Well, my son, he loved doing the Spartan races. He loves doing that. Loves doing half marathons and stuff. Which is weird, not weird, but because I did all that stuff in high school and college, and so he does those. I got my daughters into running, so we started running them at like 8 and 10 years old, like doing road races and like half marathons and things like that. And then now my oldest daughter still runs, but she does horseback riding and trains horses out in Fresno. My youngest daughter, she doesn't like running anymore, but she does play tennis, so that keeps her in shape.
Yeah, very impressive. Yeah, you speak about Spartan races. I had the honor of having Joe DeSena on the podcast a while back, so that was pretty cool. If you could, please take a minute here just to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
All right. Well, D. McBurnett, I can go. Well, I was born in October. No, I won't go that way far back, but my history of me and what I've done is, I just finished out my 24-year Navy SEAL career. And a lot of people, how I got to that point, and I actually talk about in my speeches, is like work ethic. I started when I was younger doing road races and triathlons, and that's what I enjoyed. I don't know why. You wake up one day, and I didn't remember my 7th grade teacher, PE teacher, then when we still had PE, we have to run around the field, and I think it was equivalent of a mile to start every PE, and I always won those. And then she said, hey, you should do track and cross country. So anyway, long story short, I did track led to cross country led to road races, road races led to biathlons and triathlons. And then I did my first Ironman when I was 17 years old, and then rolled that over into college, did rowing team, cycling team, water polo team, and then that all led to me joining the Navy after college, where I joined in 1993, and then went to Buds in 96. This is basically when I went to enlisted SEAL training, and then after that, I ended up with that SEAL Team 2, SEAL Team 4, 8, and then top free fall school for a while. That did a solo tour, was on the jump team for a little bit. Top free fall, finished out with SEAL Team 3. And then retired as a Buds instructor. So kind of like a well-rounded career. Now I'm out. I was probably the only SEAL ever to be able to authorize to photograph our SEAL training, which led to the book Uncommon Grit. And now I just do public speaking and I do a lot of golf. So it's pretty much that's me in a small little compact nutshell.
Yeah, it's a very incredible story, Darren. And thank you for your service, of course. And at what point in all this, about how old were you when you first became a dad, and how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
I became a dad at Buds, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so that was a shocker. We weren't expecting that at all. So I'm in second phase, and my wife at the time, but we got divorced now, but we still talk. We still talk to each other. We're still good friends. We had our son coming, so I graduated like literally as soon as I graduated Buds, he was born. Like we're talking like almost to the T. He was born, and so that was a really shocker because you had to move forward with the career. You just graduated BUD/S and you got to go to jump school. And then I was a corpsman, which is a medic. So I had to go all the way to Fort Bragg, be there for 6 months. Actually, we had to go to Fort Benning first for jump school, then Fort Bragg for 6 months. That even before I got to SEAL Team 2. So that already was a huge strain. I mean, like here we are with a brand new baby, and I'm like, wow, I just started my career path to be a SEAL. So basically a recipe for disaster, and it was just horrible timing. But it worked out, but it didn't work out, if you know what I mean. So we ended up getting a divorce shortly after that. And she went home to Pennsylvania, and that's where he grew up, and I got to see him. And then later on in my career, had a couple more. It changes you. What it does is it really changes you, especially being a SEAL. You still got a job to do. Right? There's still missions out there. You still have to go do it. And then as kids got older, you start realizing that your everything you do is high risk, and so you can be gone at any time, anything during any deployment that you do. And so it really changed my little bit on what I was doing and how long I did it for. Of course, I know it sounds crazy. It's like, we took a break during after my 10-year mark, and ended up going to teaching free fall school, which is even probably just as dangerous. So then I had to go and doing skydiving 6 times a day. So, but it kept me grounded having the girls. It was when you got home, and then on the weekends you got to spend with them, which was a lot of fun. It's like now we get to, basically I kind of grew up in the SEAL team, but also grew up with my girls too. So sit home and watch Barbie with them, and watching Barney the Purple, things like that, and so it kept me from doing kind of extreme things too, But it was I don't regret it for 1 minute. The things I kind of wish I would have paid a little more attention to was when my son, because he lived in Pennsylvania and I was living all over the country, so I wish I would have been able to see him more. But overall, that's how it is.
Yeah, that's wild that you became a dad right at the time that you graduated. I can only imagine just being a dad myself and having to work like a couple of overnight shifts and be away from the family. But for you guys to be, so dedicated to what you're doing overseas, life on the line, it's just it's unimaginable for me. But obviously you had a highly decorated career with the teams. What was the genesis of you getting involved in photography? Is that something you were always into as a kid, or what spurred that on with you?
Well, that was kind of that's a great thing in itself, Alex. When I taught free fall out in Yuma, Arizona, I went through the instructor phase. So I was a full-on instructor at the time, but sometimes I got lucky and I got the first pass of the day, which usually starts at, we have to get all the jumps in before the wind picks up because it's the desert. It always picks up about noon or 1. And so we start real early. Of course, the students didn't like it because they're up at 3:15 in the morning, But if I got that first pass at 5, or it was either 5:10 or 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:15, the ramp would open. When you're that first pass, I mean, the desert was gorgeous. I mean, it's just like you see in any movie, that ramp opening with the C-130, and you just look out and the sun's coming up and everything's like this golden color of orange and vermilion, and it's just beautiful. And I remember looking at it going, literally with my student who's basically, like shaking, it's his first jump, and I just look at him, I'm like, man, isn't this beautiful? Look at this. You're getting paid to do this. This is just gorgeous. And then of course, I tap him to jump out, and he's like looking at me going, what the hell? But I thought about that, and I'm like, man, I remember days like someone should take a picture of this. So usually in the mornings I would it's called relaxing in your saddle. So I loosen my chest strap, get in my saddle a little bit more and just kind of fly while I'm coming down on the canopy, and it was really beautiful. So I just decided, it's like, man, I said somebody should take a picture of this, and then I guess that somebody will be me. So that's what started it. So I learned how to do photography by Dr. Google. I literally just learned digital photography. I know in one of my last platoons, we had just gotten the Canon and no one knew how to use it at all. We just got, it came in a Pelican case? Is it heavy? Yes. Well, then it's expensive. Don't do anything with it, So, but so I just went on Google a lot. I would take my kids to Barnes and Noble, and we'd go to let them loose in the kids section, and I would be that guy. I'm that guy, Alex. I'd go over to the digital photography section, read a book, take notes, and put it back because I couldn't afford it. Because at that time, you don't really have a lot of money. So I just take notes. And then anyway, eBayed a lot of things and finally came up with my first camera. It was a Canon 30D, one lens and one CF card and one downloader. And screwed it onto my helmet, modified a lot of things, and got it signed off as part of video. And then I just started doing video side, camera on the top, and just learning as I went. But as I was learning how to do photography, I learned backwards because I didn't have a camera. So, and when you're learning about photography through Google and things like that, you realize real quick the importance of that it's digital, which means it's all numbers and it's all histograms. And the light ratio is 0 to 255. And so I learned how to do photography backwards. I didn't learn it. It's like a lot of people in photography say, oh, that's a cool picture. I want to take a picture of that. And then they get a camera and start learning. I learned backwards up because I couldn't afford a camera. So I learned the digital darkroom and understood what the digital image is. And learned how to you need your digital darkroom, which is Photoshop. And of course, people like to say, "Oh, that's Photoshop." It's like, no, it's not Photoshop. Photoshop is your digital darkroom, just like anything else. If you did film, you had to go to your darkroom. Photoshop is your digital darkroom. They got On1 and all these other things now, but that's how I learned. And so that's why my photography looks the way it does, because when I look at a scene or something, I look at it as numbers. I see the numbers. I can see the histogram. I know how to adjust it from there. And of course, I learned how to do it skydiving. So that was like my first images were all in the air. So the exposure values changed so rapidly from looking at inside the ramp, coming down, switching over, looking down at the ground on the horizons. They change so much. And that's how I learned. And I really enjoyed it. And that's what sparked it.
Yeah, and the pictures are awesome, and it's incredible the access we have to the photos and videos. But I'm sure it doesn't live up to what it is like to experience it in real time, but it does do a great job. I recently had a professional photographer, Michael Muller, on the podcast here. He's the one. He took the famous picture of Kobe Bryant that was put out by Time magazine. And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So. It's definitely a craft to learn, but one of the things now as a dad, we love to take pictures of our kids. The problem that I see now is like when I grew up, my mother made like the photo albums. We had all these pictures were like very well organized. But as a dad, I'm shooting like these quick pictures. I'm not categorizing them that well. You as a father, as a family guy, how do you go about taking your pictures? Do you use the old school camera? Are you using the phone like the rest of it? How do you go about doing the family photos?
Well, Alex, you're going to laugh when you hear this, man. My kids hate it when I took their pictures. They would always run. They did not want me to take pictures of them whatsoever at any stage of their life. Any stage of their life. I couldn't believe it. I'd be there and I'd get the camera and they both do this. Or they're both like that, or like, Dad, and then they just like, oh, it's like, come on. And so all my photos, I get them, are just like candid ones, and finally got to the point. I know it sounds horrible. Now I take them my iPhone now when they're not looking. I'm like, hey, kind of like that, which is weird because kids love taking pictures of themselves on their phone. They can do it all day long. So but for me, I have a nice categorized, but it's just getting them to, when I got the professional camera out, I'm like, hey, we're going to do a nice photo. And they're always just like, I'm like, great. They're my professional photographer. It's even, I don't even have photos of me, which is even more weird. Like I try to get people to take photos of me and it's like, it's hard. But I do categorize what I do get. I download them from my phone onto a folder.
Yeah, and Darren, obviously as a Navy SEAL, you're a very well disciplined individual. But what type of disciplinarian were you when it comes to being a dad?
Because I had, grew up with my girls, I was kind of a softie, to be honest with you. You spend all day training, you're deploying, you finally come home. And for me, it's probably not a very good dad practice, but I'm like, I couldn't go home and be mean and disciplined to my kids. I just wanted to see them smile and have fun. So basically I spoiled them. I was a big softie, my wife at that time, she was a disciplinarian. Of course, I was a big kid too, so, but I wasn't as much of a disciplinarian as you would think. I was, I got daddy's little girls, so I kind of spoil them and So, but I just enjoyed being with them, and so I kind of did everything with them. I took them to movies, we went out, we did everything with them. And so I never really, we never went down the disciplinarian route, which is kind of weird, which people would actually think that I would, but I didn't. So.
Well, I have 4 kids myself, and my youngest is my girl. She's only 5 now, but I am totally dreading the time where she's going to be old enough to hit that dating scene. You're there. How do you kind of handle that? Navy SEAL, how do you handle your daughters in the dating scene?
Oh my God. If I can just take them back to when we would watch Scooby-Doo, remember watching Barney? How cool was that? And that's what resonates is I miss those days because I was the coolest thing on earth, and that was our thing, watching Barney and watching, all the things, watching the Scooby-Doo, watching the Barbie movies, going and watching the next Pixar movie that came out. And that was what I loved doing. Now that they're older, oh my God. It's like my oldest daughter went through a harsh transition to the point where she got really, when I would deploy a lot, I was actually overseas for 2 years straight. And so she got herself in some mischief. And we ended up putting her in a private school for her senior year. But now at Fresno, she went to this cycle. She was like really good and then bad. And then now in college, she's back up again and actually starting to be, professional human being again. But she, she'll talk and say, Dad, yeah. And she goes, sorry, I miss all those things that we did, And so I'm like, cool, but she's coming around. Now my youngest one, she's tough. I'm telling you, she totally embraces the smartphone community. I mean, I can't get her off that damn thing to the point we take it away, but it's tough with that. It's the dating. She's starting to date. Well, she has a boyfriend now she's had for a while. I'm happy the fact he's athletic. He does cross country. He does tennis. I'm like, well, thank God for that. I mean, if he didn't, I don't know how I would deal with it, to be honest with you. It's like, what? But it's weird though, because then you start, thinking how you were in high school and stuff. And I'm like, oh, great. And they're like, hey, we're just going to go over here. It's like, I know what you're doing, but it's a little bit tougher. So enjoy it now, Alex. Seriously, enjoy it now. Okay.
I'm trying to hold on. Yeah.
Oh, he comes up, but he knows I'm retired SEAL and stuff. And so he'll come over and he'll say, yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm like, that's right. And he'll say it before. I don't have to correct him or anything. The first time I met him, he went out his hand and he's like, good to meet you, sir. And I'm like, damn it. I have to like him now because he did that.
Well, listen, not all of us are blessed to be able to tell these guys, hey, yeah, I was a former SEAL. So, I mean, at least you got that working for you there. And I'd be using it if I were you.
Yeah, it's my advantage. Thank goodness for that,
And getting back here to your book there, The Uncommon Grit, what was the reaction of the SEAL community? Because I know that there's some touch and go feelings with a lot of the SEALs. Many of you guys have been putting out books. As I said, we benefit greatly from your guys' mindsets. I think it's great that so many SEALs are starting to get involved in politics. But I know that some people are a little off put by some of the books. What was the general reaction to you putting out The Uncommon Grit that kind of gives this inside view of the Buds community?
Yeah, it was interesting. Is actually I wasn't going to do it. The whole story is actually really, really not a long story, but a lot of chain of events led to it. It was like basically 4 years in the making. But when I finally got done, I had a medical condition. I actually got a pacemaker put in. So I tell everyone I'm kind of like Tony Stark, but without all the money, the abs, the superhero friends, the cool sunglasses, and the Ferraris. But other than that, we're the same thing. We got something keeping us alive in our heart, But when I got done, just a buddy of mine, his name was Captain Smith. I helped him out shooting active valor scenes years earlier. And it's kind of weird because I was in convalescent leave. Basically, you got to rest because you got a pacemaker put in, and kind of like doing that last year, being retired. And he goes, "Hey, I got something for you." And I'm like, "Dude, I literally have a bad heart with a pacemaker put in," And he's like, "Hey, we just want to do kind of like this new video that we want to do with some pictures and see if you want to oversee it." And it's kind of funny because I'm like sitting in my chair, I got my bathrobe on and kind of feel like Hugh Hefner just sitting there. And then I'm watching reruns of My Name Is Earl, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm kind of busy right now, which I wasn't. So, but yeah, I did. Went out there and I met him. I saw the team that he worked with was a couple guys, and they just wanted basically the Commodore, not the Commodore, but the training is like the Spec War Command. Kind of wanted a whole new video and outlook on things, and they knew from my video and photography experience over the years. And so I just said, yeah, I'll do it. So I oversaw a little bit of it, and then it's like, hey, why don't you take a couple pictures too and do video? And then I started feeling better, and then just started. I was like, well, what do you guys need? Well, we need film of every block of training to include advanced training, all this. And I was like, whoa, that's a huge project. What do you got now? Nothing. And when's this due? So immediately I jumped on it, and got all my gear and started helping. And then we started doing a lot of video and a lot of things and put it together. And then I took pictures on the side and did kind of like the black and whites, what I started with. And then it went from there. And then the thing that makes the whole thing interesting was just the process of getting it. Because usually when I did photos for a lot of people at free fall school, you download them, you turn them in. That's the same thing we did here. Is like we got this command initiated project. Actually, it was like 3 commands in with it. Our Bud Center, and then our advanced training, and then our SEAL qualification or SQT. And so a lot of people involved, a lot of JAGs involved, a lot of PAOs involved. And you just took all the photos and, then turned them all in, and here you go. And all the videos, the different departments took them, and then that was kind of it. But, for me, it's like I did all my editing at home. And then as it progressed and got to the end, it was just great leadership that had a vision. And so, but then all the images were released and videos, because they put them out and things like that. So that's the big thing about images is they have to be released. So I learned a lot about actual rules of photography in the military, about, if it's on a military base, the military owns it. So they have to release them or you have it, which I kind of knew in a way, but, it goes for every base across the country. So like, even if you go on a base right now, even know what you're doing, you take a picture with your cell phone in front of something, the military technically owns that photograph. So it's kind of crazy how it all works out. But anyway, long story short, we got it done. And then I just started an Instagram page, and a Warcom page, started using some of my stuff. And then I just started converting into black and white and things like that. And then I started Instagram, and then that's where it started. So that's that. I know it's a long story short, but that's kind of like how it all happened. And then I started Instagram, and it started going through. There was McTeams3842 with my Instagram, and then I'd post like one a day, and that really started to build traction. And then I'd done my fans on Instagram would say, "Hey, you should do a book. You should do a book." And I'm like, I didn't even have to write. And so then last year, it was like literally 4 years. I was like, yeah, well, why not? I'm like, I'm looking through my portfolio. I'm like, there's a lot of cool images here. And so that's what started it. Now going back to your original question, now that we went the long way around to your original question, for me personally, I like it when any person in special forces or any person that's been in the military or a first responder or anybody writes a book. I think it's fantastic, and here's why. Simply because it gets those stories out. And I love the fact that there are great people that have great stories, and things happen to them. I know that I led these in the SEAL community, and then we had Dick Marcinko came out with Rogue One. That was kind of like, that was like kind of like a forefather of special warfare books in my mind, and then nothing came out a long time after that until Marcus and the Lone Survivor came out. And that was like trend setting, to me. But that was a story that some things went down. And I'm glad you're sharing it, because that's what I think, not only us as operators, but what everybody needs. I love the fact that people can sit down and read these stories and know that there's people out there that do hard things, and life isn't just about like sitting around on your phone and just, and doing nothing. It's like there's people out there doing great things. And when people do great things, I think it should inspire other people. And when you get inspired by that, then that drives you out to do things. And that's what these stories do. So I love when they come out with books. No one is really, that I know of to my face, has bashed my book whatsoever. Mostly because it's photography. So, I mean, it's just mostly pictures. I mean, it's basically, it's a picture book is what it is. And I write in the beginning about the evolutions from my experiences, which was a lot of fun. But I haven't really gotten any negativity to me. I haven't seen any blogs anywhere or anything on any news thing that, even when I went on Fox and Friends and I was with Pete and we talked about it, I didn't get anything that was like, I can't believe you wrote a book. And then like nothing, I physically haven't got it. As a matter of fact, everything that I've got has been hugely positive. Everyone that's got it. I even got when like former team guys, I've got even CEOs of commands, the current commands, like current operators are actually getting the book, going to my site. The biggest thing I like about what Uncommon Grit has done is the youth generation that's coming up that was on my site and on my Instagram that actually joined the Navy, and that I got one guy who actually joined the Navy and actually he's in second phase right now with SEAL training, And so when you go out and make a difference, to me, is that book made a difference in people's lives. They didn't read it, they looked at it and got inspired by a photo. And in the end, that's what you really want as a photographer is, are people inspired by your photos? And that's the biggest gift that I ever achieved with that book, is how it inspired people to actually join the military and go in. And just the amount of people that have this book is just, it's incredible. I got, you see him come in and, Benicio del Toro has one of the books, John Rich has a book, the president, Donald Trump has a book. I had Ronnie Jackson come down, get him, Ronnie Jackson one, Scotty Volkert, who flies Marine One, and Donald Trump has one now. And we just, the amount of people that have this book, it's that look at it, and especially team guys that have it, retired team guys coming in, CEO of commands. It's like, it's all been so positive. And it's like, well, people are like, you can make another one? I'm like, no. That's it. It was it's been very, very positive from my end. Now, I don't know, everyone's talking, but that's what I'm getting, and I'm very grateful for that.
What's coming up next for you? I mean, you've had so many accomplishments in your career. Your Navy SEAL career is over now. You're into the photography. What's next for you? What kind of goals or plans do you have for the future?
It's been fantastic, Alex. I'll be honest with you. Getting out, there's a great retirement. I said I became a fundraiser for a charity called Poles of Honor, which is a lot of fun. Meeting a lot of people, just you meet great people out there that want to make a difference, and also recognize the sacrifice that the military makes, but not only military, but police officers and firefighters and first responders make. It takes all of us to give us the freedom that we have. And then, of course, I wanted to give back to the fallen operators, make sure that legacy is continued, honoring their sacrifice that they made for our country. So worked for them for a while. Then I started doing public speaking for leading authorities, and then mostly on my own now. And then the book came out, and so it's been a real whirlwind, been real busy, but also a lot of fun. And so this year coming up, I'm going to do a podcast with Tenderfoot going over military missions. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'll probably hit you up on how to do those. But and then still more speeches are coming up. And then my goals for this year is the big one is I'm going to start my own charity. It's going to be called the Uncommon Grit Foundation. We're working on it right now. And we want to, basically, it's the thing we're doing is, taking care of the few that took care of the many, and that's honoring that sacrifice that all first responders make. And so it's kind of like a big thing that we want to do, but it's like, hey, there's we got military protects overseas, but then we have people protecting us in their country as well. So and they die too. So we got to make sure everyone out there that has that uncommon grit characteristic, we'll see what we can to take care of, So that's on our big to-do list, and hopefully we'll make it happen by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Darren. Last thing I want to hit you with here, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for the new dad or for the about-to-be father who's out there listening?
Oh boy, the new dad. Well, you had to hit me with that one, didn't you, Alex? Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't even know if I was a good dad. I hope I was a good dad. The kids are turning out. I mean, but I tell you what, Alex, it's really, really tough because I have a hard time now trying to deal with the generation that's coming in, called the millennial generation and this and that. But they're definitely a different mindset than we were growing up. When I growing up, you played outside until dark, and then that was it. You went in and you had 3 channels to watch. You had ABC, NBC, CBS, or if you're lucky, maybe you got PBS that came in every once in a while, you know? And so that generation playing outside, playing with toys, riding bikes, getting skin knees, you know, and growing up, that's how I grew up. And then, you know, and with my girls, I always did stuff with them outside. But now as we get older, we have a generation of kids that they don't even go outside, you know. And so my advice to new fathers right now is spend time with them. Get them. Don't give them this as entertainment because you want to go do something. Get out there and do something with them. Go outside with them even if you're tired, you know. Go get them in athletics. Get them into running. Do something, you know, other than just feeding them a device and being a babysitter, because that's what's going to really be, I think it's really going to put them on a path that's going to be hard to recover from that path. That's my advice, is just get outside and do stuff with them. Make them play outside. Make them, you know, climb a damn tree. Get outside and experience life, you know, because, you know, it's like I go around all the time. I'm like, hey, you know, if you don't look up, you're going to miss life. And I mean it by people like this all the time, you know, so why don't you just look up and experience life, because you're going to miss it.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Darren McBurnett, you are a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time on First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much. Love you, man. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Thank you so much for everything, brother. Thank you.